Welcome to Grace Walk Farm. It is almost Christmas, and that means it's time to do some baking. Today I'm going to show you one of my favorite Christmas cookie recipes, and it's for gingerbread cookies. This is a simple, quick recipe that you can make with your kids this Christmas. Let's break it down, and I'll show you exactly how to do it. You only need a few simple ingredients. You're going to need a stick and a half of butter. You're going to need all-purpose flour. I'm using King Arthur's Measure for Measure gluten-free, but regular all-purpose flour works just fine. You'll need white sugar, a little salt, 1 egg, and some cinnamon and some ginger. And if you don't have those, you can use pumpkin pie spice and cinnamon, and it'll work just fine. You're also going to need a little salt, and that's it. Simple recipe. So let's dive right in. The first part we're going to do is add our butter. I'm going to use my KitchenAid mixer for this today. You certainly don't have to have a KitchenAid for this. You can mix this by hand even, or use like some handheld mixers, and it'll work fine. But we're going to do a stick and a half of butter, and that really equates out to 3/4 of a cup. And so we're going to make sure our butter is soft. When you make cookies, you always want to start with softened butter. If it's hard, you're going to not get the consistency that you want in your final product. All right, so we've got 3/4 cup of butter, and we're going to add an egg. Now, here's a little trick. If you have farm fresh eggs like I do, this is straight from my chickens this morning, you always should crack your farm fresh eggs into a separate bowl, because you never know if you're going to get a bad egg, and it will ruin your entire batch, and then you'll have to throw this out and start over. Nobody wants that. So we're going to crack it in the bowl. And fun fact, when you're using your eggs from your chickens, you can crush your eggshells up and feed them right back to your chickens. Good way to boost their calcium and make sure your eggs stay hard. So we'll get back to the chickens in a little while. Add this to our mixer, and then we're also going to add 1 cup of regular white sugar. So if you are a true Southern cook, you'll use Dixie Crystals, but you use whatever you've got. I tend to be a generic shopper myself, but my grandma would say if it's not Dixie Crystals, you're doing it wrong. All right, so we're going to just go ahead and start beating this together, and then we'll add the rest of our ingredients. Anytime you bake, you want to work in phases, and so you start by putting together your wet ingredients, and then you're going to gradually add in your dry ingredients. So once this gets to like a good fluffy consistency, then we're going to start adding a few more things. And that looks pretty good. Super quick. Now we're going to go ahead and add molasses. Now, molasses is an ingredient that our grandmas probably used to use quite often as a sweetener, but it's not something we use very often. I love the smell of it. It immediately makes me think of being a kid and being in my mama's kitchen and all of the things that she would bake. We would go visit every Christmas. Oh, good memories. So we're going to add 1/2 cup of molasses to this recipe. Look how pretty it is. Super sticky. I feel like I'm doing real cooking when I pull out ingredients like molasses. Ooh, let's see if we can not make a mess. All right, we're going to add that in, and we're going to give it another mix just to get the molasses incorporated. And then we'll start adding our dry ingredients. Now, some people, when they bake, they'll mix all their dry ingredients in a separate bowl, and then they'll pour it all in. I don't do that. I like to make as few messy dishes as possible. So I'm going to add it straight into my mixer as I go. So let's get the molasses mixed in, and then we're going to start adding our flour. We're going to add 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. So we're going to start a little at a time, let it incorporate, and then we'll add more. Take your time with it. There's 1. It's coming together pretty quickly already. There's 2. And I'm going to do a light half, because you always want to kind of go by the look of your dough. If it's starting to look dry, you can scale back on the flour. If it's too wet, you can add additional flour. And now we need baking powder. Like any other cookie, you're going to need 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Always, always check the expiration date on your baking powder. One time I made cookies and they turned out completely terrible, and I hadn't changed my recipe, and I knew like something has to be wrong with my ingredients. And I went back and looked, and sure enough, my baking powder had expired. I was so annoyed. So just check that before you get started. We added our baking powder. Now we need our spices. So my original recipe calls for a teaspoon of cinnamon and 2 teaspoons of ginger to give you that true gingerbread taste. I don't have any ginger today, so we're going to roll with it. I'm going to add just a little bit of cinnamon, and then we're going to add some pumpkin pie spice, because pumpkin pie spice has ginger, also has nutmeg, which sounds delicious in gingerbread cookies. How could it be bad, right? So I added about a teaspoon. And now we're just going to mix it all together. This comes together really quickly, and it already smells like Christmas in my kitchen. My kids are going to be really excited later today when they come home and smell these gingerbread cookies. So delicious. All right, our dough is looking pretty good. So our next step here is we need to chill our cookie dough. So we're going to take a break, and I'm going to stick this in the refrigerator to chill. And once it's all cold and ready to scoop, we'll come back and I'll show you how to scoop these out. And the most fun part of all in this recipe is we're going to roll these in sugar to give them a little kind of crystallized glaze on the outside. And this is a part that your kids will want to help with. So I'll meet you back here in a few minutes after this chills, and we'll start getting on the cook sheet. All right, our dough just came out of the refrigerator. It's good and chilled. And now it's time to get ready to bake these gingerbread cookies. So you're going to need a little cookie scoop, and you're going to need sugar. I have about a 1/4 cup of sugar in this little bowl because we're going to roll these in sugar. So start by making a little ball with your scoop. You got to get messy for this. And this is the part that I say your kids will love to do with you. So you make a ball, just like that. Drop it in your sugar and roll it around, just like so. Then we're gonna put it on our cookie sheet, and we're gonna just mash it down a little. Just gently press it down, just like so. And you're just gonna keep making your little balls and rolling them in sugar until you fill up your cookie sheet. Now, a lot of times when people bake cookies, they say my cookies always turn out either overcooked, or I can't seem to make them where they're chewy, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. The thing with making cookies is you have to almost take them out of the oven when they're still raw. When they come out, they should still look too soft. So you almost want to think you're under baking them, because when they come out of the oven, as they sit and cool down, they're still going to keep cooking for a few minutes. So you don't want to leave them in until they're completely done, or they'll be overdone by the time you're done with the process. So this recipe makes a good mini cookie, so you'll have plenty to share with friends and family. And these are quicker than roll cookies. I know most gingerbread cookies are a little long and laborious, but these are quick. So we'll get these filled up, and these are going in a 350-degree oven for 10 minutes, exactly 10 minutes. And then we'll show you the final result. Our cookies are finally cool, and I thought I would give them just a little bit of decoration to make it festive. I've got some powdered sugar in my bowl here, and I'm just going to sift this out over the top just to give it a little bit of holiday flair. Who doesn't love some powdered sugar, right? It just makes everything prettier. And this is a beautiful plate of gingerbread cookies that you can share with family and friends this Christmas if you don't eat them all yourself, because they're seriously that good. Let's give one a try. I've been waiting all day. See how it is. Ooh, great texture. That is just like Christmas in your mouth. Lots of ginger coming through, lots of cinnamon. This is like a perfect little spice cookie. I hope you'll make this for your family this Christmas. And if you do, leave a comment and let us know that you liked it, or way you changed. Everybody personalizes recipes their own way. Merry Christmas from Grace Walk Farms. Stay tuned. We've got more Christmas cookie recipes coming soon.